Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video, I'm bringing to you my spoiler-free review and spoiler-filled discussion of Samsara by Saksham Garg, which is the first book inside an Indian YA fantasy series, and it is also the first book that I have read as the part of my book chat series which I started doing from the month of June. The book that we are reading for the month of July in 2023 is also already announced, and I'll link that announcement video down in the description. You can check out that video and start reading the book anytime during the month of June so that we can have a discussion of that book similar to this one in August. So without any further ado, let's get into the review of this book right away. And when we get into spoilers, I'll let you know so that if you don't want to get spoiled for the book, you can step out of the video. Starting with the plot, we have 11 people or 11 souls inside this book who are abducted from various different parts of the country and taken to this small valley inside the Himalayas called the Valley of the Samsara, where there are many celestial beings who are living, and magic is also just a very common thing that just exists inside the society, inside Samsara. Now, it is not like all these 11 souls or 11 people have been trained for their whole life in order to go to Samsara and help the people what they want to get through a quest. They are just abducted out of nowhere from their lives and taken to this valley, and they just have to do what they are told in order to save the people or help the people inside Samsara, even if they don't want to do it. And the worst part is that all these 11 people have no other option than to help the people, and they can also not escape from there. We basically follow the entire plot of the book with one of the 11 souls as the main character, and the main character is Aman, and Aman is just abducted from his actual life and thrown into this life of the Samsara, and he's also the 11th soul who's put in there. And the difference with him is that usually there are only 10 souls who are selected for this particular quest, but this time alone he is added as an 11th soul, and because of this many people think that there is something special about him. There is also this leader of these 11 souls called the Eka, who's just one person among all these 11 souls, and since he's the person who's added as the 11th soul, many people think that he's going to be the Eka, and with that the plot of the series just keeps on moving. Now, talking about the characters, I should say there are multiple characters inside this very short book. It's just over 200 pages long, but I don't think there was the need for having 11 souls or 11 main characters inside the series to move it as a whole. Apart from these 11 characters, there are also so many teachers and people who just come inside the story and influence the plot of the series as a whole. But of all of them, the main characters whom we focus on are Aman, who's the main character, and the other souls, namely Idika, Faiza, Ujjal, Prithvi, Aarti, Payal, and so many other characters. It's not like all the 11 souls have equal parts to play inside the story. Just like a handful of them are important for the story, and the others just seem like atmospheric characters who are just there in the backstage to show us that there are 11 souls here. Apart from that, I cannot say that any of the main characters had that much of an importance inside the story, including Aman himself. And the main reason why I think it did not feel like anyone was important to the story is that none of the characters had enough time to get developed at all. The author just told us a lot of things about the characters instead of just developing them and showing us how they grow as people inside the book. Especially our main character in this one did not stand out like a main character at all for me because he felt very whiny throughout the book. I can understand that it is a YA book and he has just turned into an adult, but the amount of whining that this main character has just made him feel so annoying, and I did not feel like I cared about anything that happened to any of the characters inside the book. Now, talking about the world building, which I think is personally my most favorite part about this book, okay? This is an Indian fantasy, and I can say that the author has made a proper use of different things from our Hindu mythology and Indian mythology into the series and make it Indian on its own. There are certain things which make it feel like an urban fantasy, since all these characters or most of these 11 souls are just dragged away from the modern lives that they are living and dropped into this valley and have to cope up with all the things that are happening there, which clearly just shows us that there is no influence of technology inside the story. Everything that is happening here is organically natural. At the same time, it is also kind of ancient in its tone because the valley is kind of conventional in its way. The author also brings in Hindu gods and Hindu mythology inside the story and uses various parts of Hindu mythology as parts of his own story in the modern world as a setup. Some of them were really good and some of them just felt like they were added just for the sake of being there. As a whole, I can say that it was atmospheric in its tone and it made me feel like this story is actually happening inside a valley in the Himalayas because I was able to feel the chills that the author was trying to build up in that atmosphere. And most of all, my most favorite part about the world building in specific is the concept of Atma Yoga. The way in which the author introduces it to us through a character and then shows the use of it throughout the story at different instances was really well done. I was able to see and experience how Atma Yoga was happening to the main characters and how they were making use of it during various parts of the story for different reasons. He showed me how difficult it can be and how useful it can be, and how most of all those things, it is the most difficult thing to master and also the most powerful weapon that they have as souls. So as a whole, I can say that the world building was the best part about this book. Now talking about the writing, I should say that the writing in this book is pretty basic, okay? So if you're a beginner, you can go forward and try this book for sure. The one thing which I think might confuse you if you're a beginner is that there are so many characters for such a short book, and nearly more than half of the characters are not even necessary for progressing the plot of the story. So that can be a thing which drives you out if you're a beginner. But if you want to just follow on with the plot, I think it is very suitable for beginners, and especially the writing of the author is very simple that anyone who reads it can easily understand it. It's not like very difficult to understand. You need not go back and reread anything in order to understand what is going on inside the story. There are also certain scenes inside the book where there are dreams that are experienced by the main characters here. And all those dream sequences were really well written by the author, because most of these dreams that the characters are having are fever dreams, and I was able to get the exact essence of that fever dream properly that was conveyed by the author through his writing. And one thing which I saw as a very negative thing about the writing in this book is that the author just told us a lot of things instead of showing us. I know that I am not a writer, okay? I know that it can be very difficult to show people what is happening inside the story without telling it completely. But in this one, it just felt like there was so much more of telling rather than showing to us. And I personally think that this book could have been gone through a multiple drafts by the author itself and also edited much better by the editors. It has a great marketing on the internet. So I think if they had taken a bit of that budget and put it into drafting the book a bit better, I think the story could have become much better. And also, personally, I think that the book could have been a bit longer because everything felt a bit too rushed up and just felt like we have to finish this one because the next thing is going to happen. But if you're a beginner, trust me, you can just go forward and try this book. It is very easy to read. At last, in the spoiler-free part, talking about the pacing of this book, I should say that the pacing in this one is pretty much consistent. As I said before, in the writing aspect of the book, there are so many instances during which the story just feels like it is rushed up, because of which the story also feels like it is fast-paced, okay? I cannot say that the book is actually fast-paced, but because of the fact that so many instances inside the book are being rushed up, it feels like a fast-paced story. And basically, the book is divided into 3 parts, and each and every one of the 3 parts can be read by you in just a couple of hours. I was able to read each and every one of the 3 parts in 2 hours each. So especially if you're a speed reader, trust me, you'll be able to finish this entire book in just a single day itself, because it is very easy to read and also super fast-paced. Having said that, I should say that this fast pacing felt like the story was being choppy at multiple instances. It also has a lot of action scenes which just keeps the story moving at a faster pace and makes you want to flip the pages continuously. So in that aspect, I can say that the pacing of this book is pretty decent. To wrap up the spoiler-free part of this video, I have rated this book 3 stars, and I should say that it was quite disappointing for me because I had really high expectations for this one. Because I saw some raving reviews on Instagram, and also the marketing of this book on Amazon is just out of the charts. Because of all these reasons, the book is super overhyped out there, and if you are someone who has really high expectations for me and have not read the book, please don't have such high expectations. Just read it like a very normal book. I think you'll be able to enjoy it a lot more if you don't have much expectations on it. I'm not sure whether I'll be continuing on with the series also, and even if I do continue on with the series in the future, it'll be because of the concept of Atma Yoga. So now I'm going to jump into the spoiler-filled section of the review. So if you've not read the book, or if you don't want to get spoiled for the book, I'd suggest you to step out of the video right now, because there are going to be spoilers from now on. Now getting into those spoilers, first I want to talk about Aman and how he was introduced to us, okay? It just felt super dramatic and very old cinema-like, okay? The way in which he is shown like a person who's being very bullied by all the other people in his school, and how he has been alone. All those things are really understandable, okay? Many people are going through all such things even at present in their lives, but the way in which the author showed it to us just did not feel organic at all. He just told everything rather than just showing us and making us understand that he's going through all these tough things in his life. Because of which it just felt like the author as well as the character were just being super dramatic of all the things that are happening in their lives, okay? I can understand that he's a teenager, and teenagers usually are much more dramatic because of all the emotions that we experienced during that time. But in this one, it just felt like I was watching a cinema that was made way back in the 80s or 90s, with just so much hyped up emotions without subtlety at all. And how he is introduced to us as a son of a person who's treated as a traitor by the country as a whole, and because of which the society also shuns the family. I think that despite all those things, during this time and age, such things might not happen that easily, because as far as I can see, based on the people that I see in my life, people are a bit more empathetic when it comes to people who are suffering in their lives compared to just trying to stamp them down and push them down into the earth. Because of that reason, I just felt like the main character just felt very whiny and dramatic at multiple instances. More than that, I felt like the author's writing and the way in which he tried to push the character to us as the main character by making us feel sympathetic to him rather than feeling empathetic towards him just did not rub off in the right sense for me. The next thing which I did not like at all is the fact that he was added as the 11th soul inside Samsara, apart from all the other 10 souls which have been already collected and brought together over there. It just felt like the author did all these things just in order to emphasize the fact that he is the main character, okay? Of all the 10 souls that are already in there, we don't even see what is happening to like 3 or 4 of the characters, and even if we remove them out of the story, it is not going to impact the story or the plot in any way at all. So I just basically thought that instead of adding him as an extra character, as an 11th character inside the story, he could have just been the 10th or one of the 10 people who have already been selected. And the way in which he's taken to Samsara by this other character who takes all the characters from the different parts of the subcontinent into Samsara just felt so stretched out, okay? It could have been cut short. We could have just seen his mother leaving him alone in the bus and him being taken from the where he's dropped off to Samsara and just gotten into the actual story. But instead of that, I think that the author just stretched it a lot more, and I just felt like bored, okay? I did not want to see how much struggle this guy is just going through by being carried by another person. I just want to get to the story and see some magic happening and some action happening. All those things just got so much delayed because of the stretching of how he was being carried from one place to another. All those things just got so much delayed just because he was being carried from one place into another place by this one other character. There was the small chunk before he gets into Samsara with the tree that is happening and everything, which felt a bit more layered for the story. But despite that, all the things that happened before, from the bus stop to the tree, just felt very inconsequential for me. Next, I want to talk about this one character. I think her name is Aarti, okay? I don't even remember her name properly. I'm just going with the names that I remember from the story, okay? I think she's Aarti and she's shown as a negative character of all the 10 souls inside the story. And there's this one action that she keeps on doing, okay? Which is that she takes out her lipstick and applies it on her lips. And okay, the sense I got while I was reading that each and every time was that the author was trying to show us that Aarti is trying very hard to show that she's a very hard and difficult, tough person to deal with. But what it felt like for me was that the author was trying so hard to show that Aarti is trying so hard to look like a tough person. If he had made it look like the character is trying so hard, it would have been better. But what I felt was that the author was trying so hard to make that character look like this. So that was a huge turn off for me at that point itself. And the second thing is that for like 2/3 of the story, we are just shown that Aarti is just a very negative character. She does not like people. Okay, she's Brahmin. So she thinks that all the people are just below her just because of her caste. All these things are shown in a very negative way by her, which are also innately bad things. Okay, it was shown like she's not at all a good person. She's just a bitch. It just felt like that. But towards the end, it is revealed to us that she's feeling all these things about Idika, and that's the reason why she has been acting in a particular way, and there was no foreshadowing for that at all at any instant. And next I want to talk about two of the other main characters who are Idika and Faiza, okay? Both of them felt very flat and bland to me. I can understand that both of these characters who are the female main leads of the story are like the supporting pillars for Aman because he's trying to find his place inside Samsara. But it just felt like both of these characters are so flat, okay? There is nothing going on with them that is interesting at all. They are just plain cookie cutter good people, and it did not feel like that at all because no teenager is like that. And each and every instant there was some scene with them, it was just showing us that Aman is putting both of them in a pedestal and seeing them higher than him. I can understand that, but the way in which the author himself shows them like that was very annoying for me because no one is like that, okay? Not even adults are like that, and especially teenagers, they need to be annoying because there are some things that are going on in each and everyone's life that makes us act out in some way, and especially in those, and especially during that age period in our lives, all of us act out for some reason because of various things that might be going on in our personal lives. So despite that, both of them just being super good and bland felt very out of the place for me. And another thing which I want to say is that how the author shows that some people still have so many non-secular thoughts and how it should not be there in the current society. I thought that it was not that relevant here, even though it is something which need to be addressed, because I don't think anyone who's in our generation is not secular in their tone. And continuously reiterating it of characters of this particular age group just felt very shallow to me because I have not seen anyone who's of my age or my peer group who sees religion as a huge thing and does not like a person because they are from a particular religion or something. So that just felt like the author was trying so hard and did not accomplish anything that he wanted to accomplish properly. I have talked about a lot of things which I did not like about this book so far. So I want to talk about something which I loved throughout each and every time that it happened inside the book, and it is Atma Yoga. I said in the spoiler-free part of the review itself that that is my most favorite part of the book, and even here I'm saying the same thing because not even during one scene when Atma Yoga was happening, I felt bored at all because the author himself felt like he had a clear idea of what he was trying to make us visualize, and I think he just achieved it really, really beautifully, okay? the first instance during which we see Atma Yoga happening through Idika's character and through her introduction was just fabulous for me to read. I was able to feel all the things that Idika might be feeling when she is performing Atma Yoga and bouncing her soul from her body into that of a bird, and when the bird goes and eats a worm, how she is feeling the juices of the worm's body in her mouth, even though she is just inside the body of the bird, but her body is just sitting out there and breathing slowly. And the second instance during which she Atma Yogas into this vulture's body, and when her body is being disturbed here in its human form, the vulture just crashes and her soul just gets into her own body again, and she has some kind of a stroke or something. And the third instance during which they are fighting with the Kirtimukas, and 4 of them or 3 of them are performing Atma Yoga, and how their souls are getting into the bodies of various animals which are coming and trying to help these people to fight against the Kirtimukas. All those things were really well done by the author. By doing all these things, he also did not make me feel like Atma Yoga was a very easy thing to do that everyone can easily perform. He just showed us that how difficult it is for the people to master and how dangerous it is for them to practice as well. Because if someone else comes and disturbs them when they are doing Atma Yoga, both the creature whose body their soul is occupying and their own body will be affected. And the way in which he just showed all of those things properly to us was just amazing. So yes guys, that's it for my review of Samsara by Saksham Kark. It was not a great read for me, but I hope that the future reads inside this book chat series are going to be good, and I hope that you will be joining me for those reads also. And if you did find this video useful in some way or the other, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.